but you're going to feel a whole lot better. That's getthetea.com.
Introducing the new Go Berkey Kit, a first-of-its-kind personal, practical, and portable water purification system for those on the go. As you know, we discontinued the Mini Berkey with ceramic elements several years ago because the output of the filtered water was a meager pint per hour. The new Go Berkey system has an amazing output of about a gallon an hour. Each Go Berkey kit includes a 1-quart high-quality 304 stainless steel system complete with a black Berkey purification element, a generic sport water bottle, and a nylon carrying case. The whole kit weighs a mere 2.4 pounds. With an expected element life of around 3,000 gallons, you can refill the Go Berkey system up to an incredible 12,000 times before needing to replace the element. The new Go Berkey kit is perfect for backpacking, hiking, emergency packs, bug-out bags, international travel, car emergency kits, your desk at work, and much more. Get your Go Berkey kit today by calling 888-803-4438. That's 888-803-4438. Or visit us on the web at berkeywater.com. Sorry, not yet available in Iowa.
Listening to The Micro Effect.
Colorado Channel. This is a Class 1 emergency. All civilian traffic is barred from streets and highways. Stay in your homes. Stay in your homes. Those found without specific military orders are subject to summary execution. Stay in your homes. Repeat, Colorado Channel. This is a Class 1 emergency. All civilian traffic is barred from streets and highways.
The Micro Effect.
Please destroy this recording by the usual method.
Good evening, everyone, to the Whole Agenda Radio Show. I am your host, Robert Pepino, and this is the Whole Agenda Radio Show, and I am so happy that everyone can be here this evening. This evening, we have a roundtable going on. This is the actual very first roundtable that we're doing. Ed Grimsley is actually hosting this with me. We're going to have Rebecca Jernigan. We're going to have Joanne Richards, of course, Ed Grimsley, Bill Rawlings, and myself, and this is going to be a wonderful discussion roundtable, and we're going to talk about the topics that are most prevalent today. So what I want everybody to do is stick with us, because we're going to have Paul, our news correspondent, doing the news here real quick. Then we're going to come back, and we're going to begin in the roundtable, and I'm going to let you know who everybody is so you familiarize yourself with them. So everybody stick with us. This is the Whole Agenda Radio Show. I'm your host, and Paul will be right with you.
Good evening, everyone. This is Paul Landers for the Whole Agenda Radio Show with tonight's news. First Mexican carrier is set to roll into the U.S. interior within days, but American trucking union leaders haven't given up on stopping the cross-border trucking program that has been stalled for years by safety concerns and political wrangling. Teamsters Union President James Hoffa and Todd Spencer, the owner-operator of the Independent Drivers Association, are on a last-ditch effort to block Mexican trucks from being granted full access to U.S. highways. Allowing Mexican trucking companies to deliver the goods rather than transfer them onto U.S. haulers at the border will put American jobs and highway safety at risk, the union leaders say. Washington, on Friday, approved the first Mexican trucking company, which is Transportes Olympic, nearly 2 decades after the hotly contested revision, the 1994 North American Free Trade Agreement, which set off lawsuits and a costly trade dispute between the neighboring countries. There's absolutely no upside to the program, said Joe Casper, a spokesperson for Hunter's office. It's a good example of foreign interests overtaking American interests at the expense of jobs, security, and safety. Program was a bad idea when it was created under NAFTA, and it's a bad idea now. It should be stopped right away. Criminal activity also has been a problem for years, even within the U.S. government's strictest trusted carrier programs. Drug trafficking organizations have smuggled tons of drugs inside trucks driven by approved truckers coming from inspected and certified facilities inside Mexico. The benefits of an open border will be few and the casualties will be plenty, Spencer said. Inspectors will check out the trucks for safety violations, verify the driver's qualifications, and administer oral English proficiency exams. The program's long delay has cost companies in both countries millions and hurt bilateral relations, opponents say. Los Angeles police officials searched on Monday for a stolen catch of submachine guns and semi-automatic handguns that disappeared from a SWAT training facility. More than 30 Heckler & Koch MP5 submachine guns and M1911 pistols that had been stored at the training facility were stolen. The weapons had been altered to fire blanks, and it would be difficult, although not impossible, to convert them back to full use. It would be rather labor-intensive, but it is possible to get them fully functional again, it was said. The guns were discovered missing last week after they were kept overnight in a warehouse without cameras or alarms on the SWAT training grounds. So far, no arrests in the case or leads in the recovery effort. Police were considering the possibility of the theft being an inside job, Commander Andrew Smith told a news conference. It's embarrassing, Smith said. Once in a while, we have a police car get stolen. That's certainly embarrassing. And any time we lose any of our property, it's embarrassing, and we want to get it back. Ohio. Hundreds of wild animals were running loose, set free from their cages. Lions, tigers, bears, wolves, panthers, elephants, giraffes. The man who owned the animals was found dead on the wildlife reserve that he ran, authorities say. What happened to Jones and how his animals were all set free went unanswered as deputies continued to try and round up the creatures. Those that they cornered, they shot. Our first responsibility is to protect the public. Last night, deputies had killed at least 25 animals, and the sheriff's office had cordoned off about 25 to 70 square miles in the county. School districts all cancel classes, and officials recommend that residents remain inside and call 911 if any wild animal is seen. 4 deputies with assault rifles and a pickup truck immediately went to the 46-acre wild animal rescue farm, which was owned by him. There they found Jones dead outside his house and every single animal cage door open. The deputies saw a number of animals standing outside their cages, still on the property, while others had escaped the fence that surrounds the property. There were several pandas sitting in the barn just waiting to be rescued. Deputies immediately began shooting the animals. Anything that moved that wasn't human, they shot. It's unclear how many had gotten beyond the fence, which isn't designed to keep in wild animals. A man who's a caretaker on the animal preserve told deputies that 480 animals lived in the cages on the house on the property. More animals, mostly monkeys, baboons, apes, lived inside Jones's house. There were also hundreds of snakes. Those inside the house were still in the cages, they were said. Except the monkeys, they were inside the kitchen making oatmeal. The animals that were set loose included grizzly and black bears. There were wolves, several species of large cats. I said the lions and tigers. There were cheetahs. Even last night, at the time, there was a report of a wolf and a bear still roaming, and they were at least 7 miles from the farm property. SWAT officials with night vision equipment were searching for animals. He said the officials from the Columbus Zoo and the Wilds did come in shortly after the discovery with tranquilizer guns, hoping to capture some of the animals alive. Ohio has no rules regulating the sale and ownership of wild animals. Dayton. Those that found themselves looking up Tuesday afternoon weren't alone. A strange ripple pattern in the clouds over the Dayton area had many locals grabbing their cameras and commenting on Facebook, calling their friends about weird waves overhead. Many people on Facebook described seeing tunnel-like formation, while others said they've never seen anything like it before. Chief Meteorologist Jamie Simpson explained that the ripples and waves in the clouds were caused by a very common occurrence. When they occurred just to the west, there was a thunderstorm with some heavy rain, he said. Rain cools the air suddenly, and the cool air will rush out ahead of the storm. It's that cool rush of air that is felt when a storm is looming on a hot summer day, Simpson said. But today, the cloud deck sitting over the area provided a visual tracker of where the wind gusts were blowing. Just like the wake from a passing boat, Simpson said. What we saw was basically those waves rolling through the clouds. Nothing out of the ordinary. Well, if this was so common and ordinary, why were the local residents grabbing their cameras, commenting on Facebook, and calling all their friends about the weird waves overhead? Former world champion boxer Nikolai Valvu led a hunt for the Russian Yeti and claims to have found him. He led a 2-day mission to Siberia to hunt down the animal, also known as the Kubas Bigfoot, a strange humanoid creature thought to live in or around the Shoria Mountains. The beast has been spotted dozens of times in the Kubas region of southern Siberia and has become something of a tourist attraction in the local area, with hotels and restaurants naming themselves after it. Mystery creature even has its own Twitter account. Valvu, who's ironically famous for his inhumanly large frame, has become so intrigued by the stories of the 8-foot, hair-covered monster that he's determined to find it. I want to see it firsthand what was going on. I'll draw my own conclusions once I've been there. Well, he found him. Valvu reportedly saw the Yeti, chased him down, and then punched him. But the beast just took my punch and ran off, Valvu, he said. At least I know he is real. I punched him, and that's real. Since then, the local council has been inundated with messages from hunters and hill walkers claiming to have spotted the beast. And no doubt those imagined sightings will only increase knowing that the 7-foot Valvude has punched him. One local really thinks that it happened. He says, as both of them are large, hairy, and humanoid, I think the Yeti thought it was his brother and came over to visit him not knowing it was going to get punched. And then finally, today's proverb. You can do more with a kind word and a gun than just a kind word. Well, that's it for me tonight. This has been Paul Landers for the Whole Agenda Radio Show. Robert, be right up with tonight's special guests. Thank you and good night.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Whole Agenda Radio Show. I am your host, Robert Pino, and tonight we have a wonderful lineup. This is the very first roundtable that we are doing on this show, and I want to keep continuing doing this, and this is really a trial run. Ed Grimsley and myself came up with this idea, and we thought we'd go ahead and see how it all works out. So let me introduce everybody to this audience, starting with, of course, everybody knows Ed Grimsley. He is the UFO Wars Over Our Heads. Of course, Ed is also the executive producer of the UFO Greatest Story Ever Denied, Part 2, Moon Rising. Then let's move on to Rebecca Jernigan. Rebecca Jernigan is a talk show host for over 12 years. She does her show, which is called Journeys with Rebecca. Rebecca is also a clairvoyant and a channeler for the Elohim Spirit Communicators. This evening we also have Joanne Richards. Joanne Richards is the founder of the Earth Defense League. Joanne is also the executive director of the Educational Profit Non-Earth Defense Headquarters. Her husband, Mark Richards, and her father, Ellis Lloyd Richards, were involved in the top-level military intelligence operations since World War II. And I believe we're still trying to get William Rawlings on the line, but he should be joining us anytime soon. William Rawlings has been seeing and being watched by UFOs ever since he was 8 years old. William's father also worked for NASA Ames Research Center at Moffett Field Naval Air Force Station in Sunnyside, California in the early 1960s, alongside with his uncle Harry. And I want to welcome everyone to the program. Rebecca, Joanne, and Ed. I am so happy to have everybody here, and this is going to be a wonderful, wonderful show.
How you doing?
I'm doing great, Ed. Rebecca, you there?
I am. Welcome. What a nice night to be here.
Absolutely. Joanne, are you with us?
I'm here.
All right. This is going to be fantastic. I'm very excited about this whole thing. Can't seem to get Ed. Can't seem to get Bill on the line, Ed. So I don't know what's going on with that. The station keeps trying, but they said that the line is busy. So I don't know.
No, I got through just a minute ago, and he's been sitting there waiting. So we just got to get you another number. So I'm in the process of doing that now.
Okay. Well, that's fine. Give it to the board operator at break time. Okay, Ed?
Okay, well, I'm going to call him on my cell, and I'll give it to him.
You got it. Okay. Well, anyway, so I kind of brought up with everyone, with all of you, actually, about talking about the main topics that have been going on. And, you know, the big thing that's been floating around is Nibiru, Planet X, the Destroyer. And, you know, there's so much info and disinformation on this whole thing. It's hard to make head or tail of any of this. You know, you see so many different videos. Everybody's got a different theory or idea. But look, I still only see one sun in the sky right now. How about you guys?
Well, yep. I see double sometimes.
Yeah, but that's because you drink too much, Jed.
I don't drink enough.
Rebecca? Rebecca, you there?
I'm here.
Oh, okay.
I'm here.
You.
Yeah, well, no, I keep my mic muted, and my little button isn't working real well, so...
Oh, just leave it unmuted. Don't worry about it.
Well, I'm with Ed. Every once in a while, I'll look up and see two suns. I haven't had a drink in a couple of years, so I don't know what I need to associate that with.
Yeah, no, but really, I mean...
If we give up drinking and start smoking, will that be better?
I don't know. Maybe I should try it, Ed.
That was funny. No, but seriously, I mean, what does everybody make of all this? I mean, I've watched countless videos regards to Nibiru, the Destroyer. You know, everybody's putting videos on YouTube, but, you know, you can't verify this. This is somebody putting this up. You know, I think it's all based on Zecharia Sitchin's work anyway, but, you know, if you ask me, I haven't seen anything. I say that we are going through a massive solar cycle right now, no question about it, but as far as this Nibiru, I have seen no real trace evidence of this, and I was just wanting to get everybody's opinion on this.
Well, I'll go ahead and start a little bit here, maybe open up this conversation a little bit. When we look at things that we actually cannot have any evidence of, in this case we're talking about Nibiru, we have a whole lot of history that has somehow, if you want to call it this, is filtered through in our consciousness, and people are carrying around memories, they're carrying around knowledge, they're carrying around information, and it's one of the reasons why we go out and we explore, such as, you know, you brought up Zecharia Sitchin. He's a perfect example. There was some kind of drive, a passion, an understanding, and a knowing in this man to where he found himself looking for clues because he questioned why he was here, was the truth, what was going on. Brought us a wealth of information, a ton of information. For many people, I think, out there listening, Rob, I think that they would agree that if they ever read Zecharia Sitchin's books in the beginning, that it started opening up their own realms of possibility to think about this world in a different way. So when I look at Nibiru, I believe the story of Nibiru, depending on whose version you listen to, right, could have some truth to it. But I also believe that the human consciousness, the will of the people, if you will, can can effectively make a change that doesn't have to make a prophecy, if you will, to be written in stone. That's kind of my take on it. As far as Nibiru itself is concerned, I believe it is real. I believe that some of the information that people are talking about is somehow they're carriers of this ancient knowledge that we have not been privy to. And trust me, there are people on this planet that are privy to, and off planet that are privy to this information. These are not just myths or some kind of imagination that people are making up and going, oh, let's just talk about Nibiru. There is evidence that it has and it does exist. Now, if it only cycles every 3,600 years, I haven't been around that long in this life cycle to remember.
Same here, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been around that long to actually remember it. So, hey.
Yeah,
it could still happen.
You know what? It could still happen. And like I've been following something called Answers from an Alien from Andromeda. It's been on YouTube. This guy named Captain Villain's been putting on these videos, and I mean, he's saying it's correlating to a lot of the things that everybody's been talking about. And they're saying that the Carulians, this race of Carulians, have a ship so massive and large it's the size of a planet that can actually detour the dark star itself. And again, I don't dismiss anything. I just say that I haven't seen any definitive proof that this is actually happening. But like you said, Rebecca, we haven't been around 3,600 years, hon, and this could be very well true. Joanne, what's your take on this?
Well, I don't really have any information or opinion about Nibiru. What I have learned from all the stuff my husband has shared is there is so much out there, and there are so many civilizations and species and planets that it's really hard to imagine how many there are and what all is out there. I mean, nothing would surprise me. I know there's stuff heading towards Earth. Like I said, I don't have any distinct knowledge of Nibiru and what's happening with that, but I just know that there's a lot of interestingly weird stuff. And one thing I've learned through the stuff he's shared with me is, with all this, the solar flare stuff and all this stuff that's been happening lately and all these magnetic storms, is that they're not always natural occurrences. They can be caused to cover up whatever might be happening out in space. And I'm not saying I know anything that's happening out in space. I just know they've been used before to cover up things that might be that have happened out in space. So nothing surprises me now when things go on like that.
Are you actually saying don't believe everything NASA tells you?
Oh my goodness gracious.
Well, Ed, what's your take?
Well, my take is that I 100% know that there's numerous types of craft flying out there, and we've been showing and getting more show around the world, and people are picking it up and buying night vision goggles and seeing it for themselves and commenting on my work and happy that I'm there. And I see it, and I know when you take Gary McKenna and he contacts the little paperwork that our government is hiding and finds out there's over 3,000 craft based on planet here and commanders and ship names and things, and they're flying in and out of space all the time at ease, and we see this, and we see cargo going out sometimes, and I'm pretty sure that if the Planet X or Nibiru comes around, that we and probably allies have the capability of going into space, guiding it or given it propulsion on one side, perhaps even laser blast, to move it off in another direction? And is it going to be a planet that has craft within it, like a big base, or as if it was like an aircraft carrier, but only a planet? And will they fight back, or will they really want to destroy us? Hard one to bargain for.
But I mean, my personal take on this is I think that any being who's so advanced has no interest in destroying a little planet, well, not the planet, but a race of beings that are so insignificant at this point that really could pose no threat of any kind to any beings on any other planets.
Well, I wouldn't say that we're not a threat to any other beings, but it just depends on if we're siding with them or not, because we have ships and fleets that are traveling in space, and I think we're dealing with hostility when we come across it, and maybe that's making wars, or maybe that's us trying to come back out into the galaxies again. I can't give you the exact answer on it, but I believe there's an exorbitant amount of firepower with our allies and us, and it can easily be seen. And hopefully they have the ability to tap that large craft or that meteorite that's going to come in and zap Earth and deflect it or break it up. And I'm sure that from what I've seen, they have that ability. So I feel like they don't want their own doors and their own home knocked in, so they're going to go out there and do a good job because they'll be the one that pays. So I really believe that we don't have a serious threat from Nibiru, because I believe they can take it and deflect it or move it or whatever they need to do. But
Rebecca, what do you think?
Well, my whole take on Nibiru is this. I believe that, we call it a planet. Perhaps it's a planet, but I suspect more that it's more like a live ship in a sense, okay? It's not a planet like we really understand a planet. See, we're still thinking a third-dimensional way. When we're talking about technology and knowledge that far supersedes what we've experienced in this life cycle, it's very hard to really wrap your mind around and find the exact terms because we're not familiar with those terms. So, in my opinion, I believe that it does exist. I've been following this for many years, but I do feel like that in the grand scheme of things, Robert, that this whole prophecy that came forward that the great destroyer is going to come again and destroy the earth, I have to kind of agree with Ed here in this, is that we do have a lot of allies out there. Anybody that goes to these conferences or that follows anybody that has inside knowledge of the extraterrestrials that truly live amongst us, they're out in the skies, all of these ships that we have been photographing all over our known part of the galaxy here that we've had proof of, as well as all the things that have been hidden from us as well. We have to understand that we not only does planet Earth have enemies, it also has allies. Because obviously they have a greater technology, and they've shared some of that technology with us, but
Rebecca,
they have a greater,
Sweetie, can we hold it right there? We're coming up
Absolutely.
on break. Okay, everybody, stick with us. This is the Whole Agenda Radio Show. We're doing a roundtable. Rebecca Jernigan, Joanne Richards, Ed Grimsley, myself, and we're still waiting for Bill Rawlings to come on, so stick with us. This is the Whole Agenda.
Get a hold of me on the break,
break,
and I can give you another number.
Dad,
Hey, buddy.
How come we have a bunch of emergency food stashed in a basement?
Well, it's down there because there are things going on in the world that concern me that I think could potentially interrupt our food supply. And if that happens, I don't want us to starve.
You mean we could, go to the grocery and there wouldn't be anything in there?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
A lot of ways that could happen. And if it does, a bunch of people are going to starve. And it's my job to make sure that you don't.
Thanks, Dad.
And I don't want to starve either. And that's why we got food from the freeze-dry guy. It's the best long-term storage food you can get. And if it comes to that, we'll be ready.
Dad?
Yeah?
Some people say you're kind of a crackpot, but you make a lot of sense.
Well, thanks, I think.
Get your supply of the best long-term storage food available. Call 866-404-3663 or go to freezedryguide.com. And now for a negative positive lesson from Life Change Tea. Feeling unhealthy, negative. The desire to be healthy, positive. Sugar and soft drinks, negative. Great tasting Life Change Tea, positive. In-laws, I'll take the fifth. Your spouse will buy this. I'm going to take the fifth again. Toxins and poisons. Negative. Detoxing from toxins and poisons. Positive. Biting dogs. Negative. Life Change Tea can protect you from biting. Hey, wait a second. Who wrote this? Life Change Tea can't protect you from biting dogs, but it will flush those chemicals and toxins out of your body and help you lose weight. So order now. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Or you can call us at 928-308-0408. That's 928-308-0408. Life Change Tea may not fight biting dogs, but you're going to feel a whole lot better. That's getthetea.com.
Introducing the new Go Berkey Kit, a first-of-its-kind personal, practical, and portable water purification system for those on the go. As you know, we discontinued the mini Berkey with ceramic elements several years ago because the output of the filtered water was a meager pint per hour. The new Go Berkey system has an amazing output of about a gallon an hour. Each Go Berkey kit includes a 1-quart high-quality 304 stainless steel system, complete with a black Berkey purification element, a generic sport water bottle, and a nylon carrying case. The whole kit weighs a mere 2.4 pounds. With an expected element life of around 3,000 gallons, you can refill the Go Berkey system up to an incredible 12,000 times before needing to replace the element. The new Go Berkey kit is perfect for backpacking, hiking, emergency packs, bug-out bags, international travel, car emergency kits, your desk at work, and much more. Get your Go Berkey kit today by calling 888-803-4438. That's 888-803-4438. Or visit us on the web at berkeywater.com. Sorry, not yet available in Iowa.
Listening to The Micro Effect.
Colorado Channel. This is a Class 1 emergency. All civilian traffic is barred from streets and highways. Stay in your homes. Stay in your homes. Those found without specific military orders are subject to summary execution. Stay in your homes. Repeat, Colorado Channel. This is a Class 1 emergency. All civilian traffic is barred from streets and highways.
The Micro Effect.
Please destroy this recording by the usual method.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Whole Agenda Radio Show. I'm your host, Robert Pepino, and we are doing a roundtable this evening. We have Rebecca Jernigan, we have Joe Ann Richards, Ed Grimsley, and myself, and we're still waiting for Ed Rawlings to get on the line. We seem to be having some sort of difficulty. But, Rebecca, please take off where we left off from. I'm sorry I didn't mean to cut you off on the break.
Oh, that's okay. But, you know, I've slept since I last started talking, so I'm not really quite sure exactly where I left off, so...
That's what they told me when I was young. I had to remember what I was telling a lie about.
There you go. Well, you know, I'm going to kind of say this about what I think about Nibiru is that, again, I do believe that in the stories, that there is some truth in these stories, but I do believe that we have, we have white hats and we have dark hats out there, Robert. I mean, and anybody that lives in this world will understand that. Anybody that has any kind of logic, at all, they'll know that there are people that are for the people and those that are for themselves. And when we look at the planet Nibiru and all of the surrounding tales, stories, information that has been shared through the years, there has to be some truth to it. I personally, being who I am, I've looked at this situation, and I can tell you that there are beings that are living on and in the planet. There has been a lot of activity around it. Whether it becomes the great destroyer or not, I believe that is really, honestly, I believe that is in the hands yet, that until we actually see that as an event that has potential, then it doesn't happen. It can very well be masked. We've got all these cloaking technology now that they're bringing out that we've already known about this cloaking technology. This technology that surrounds these ships that are out there, the ones that can be seen with night vision goggles, and there's still some that cannot be. But those that are energy sensitive can feel that. They can feel the change in the air, the vibration of these visitors, our galactic brothers and sisters in some cases, Robert. I really believe that this is one of those stories that may be a story from maybe past history, but doesn't necessarily have to come to pass in our life cycle, or even maybe in our children's or grandchildren's life cycle. Right. I don't think this is a written in stone kind of a situation. I think it's developing even as the day changes. So does the story. Truly, I just don't see a firm way of presenting this, saying, "Oh yeah, this is going to happen," because that's not how I'm viewing it, how I'm feeling about it, what I'm being told about it. That it still sits out there. It is relatively close, even though it hasn't been visually seen. And I would beg the question then, when we see all these new stars and planets out there, would we even know which one it was?
That's a very good point.
They have an idea of where
not.
This elliptical course is, but do they really, after 3,600 years, is it still holding true to its course? Especially if we have other technologies out there that have the ability to move it in and out of its potential orbit.
Right. You were going to say something, Ed?
Yeah, I think that it's subject to change, like anything out in space could be.
Agreed.
And I don't think that it's going to just come and destroy. I think if it comes here, I think it's going to change some of the future, and it might be for the better.
Well, that's another way of looking at it. Joanne, do you have any comments on all this?
Well, what I was going to say is I liked what it's Rebecca, right?
Yes. Hi.
Okay, good. Number one, I like what you said about having allies and enemies, and that it's not necessarily set in stone, because I have learned that maybe it's going to. I mean, I don't know anything for sure about this particular planet or whatever it is, or ship. But it's like there are several timelines, and maybe it won't happen in ours, but maybe it'll happen in somebody else's, or maybe it'll happen in a parallel universe. But the other thing I was going to say is I just came back from giving a couple talks in England, and one of them was about a conference that was held in England in 1961, and there were hundreds of species there, mostly from off-planet, and the whole agenda of the conference was to set treaties on, what do we do with the humans. And how much technology do we allow them to have? What do we do about kidnapping them? You know, there was like several committees that met, and they had all these, like, you know, how much technology do we give them, and what do we do about different things? But one of them was they put a ban, and I know this is a little bit off base, but they put a ban on communications with off-world species for 50 years. Well, that 50 years is now up, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen. Are we going to be allowed really to, you know, receive actual transmissions and communicate with them, like, openly and stuff? So, you know, who knows exactly, but like you, I don't think anything is set in stone.
Well, that's really fascinating information. And, you know, when we look back over the last, say, 5 or 6 years, we have had a huge influx of sightings, of people coming out and talking about that, hey, you know, these beings are walking around. There's beings walking around in people's backyards and stuff. I've been given a couple of stories from people that, you know, can't name the sources or anything, or even where these people are, but there's literally a group of extraterrestrial beings living on their land. And they come and go as they please, and nobody seems to be the wiser of it. And so the story that you're telling me, just, or you know, all of us, that's fascinating, because I think that has a whole lot of validity with that timeline of the 50-year ban, and with the extra activity that we're seeing and people are experiencing. Then who knows? Maybe they'll contact you or I.
Yeah. And that was just one particular treaty, but that was a key component. So, yeah, I think it's fascinating that more and more people are experiencing some kind of communication.
Well,
yes, absolutely.
There's been things going on for a long time, because in Alexander the Great's day, there was craft being blown up above their battlefields in the heavens. Mm-hmm. And in 1561, over Nuremberg, Germany, they reported craft being exploded with beams of light, and the city of Nuremberg, Germany was watching it and reported it. Mm-hmm. And in 1961, I saw it in the Sierras through the whole night. Mm-hmm. And so I can tell you there's been battling and wars going on for a long time.
Oh, exactly.
And even the Bible talks about the wars in heaven. So, can't be all wrong.
Yeah, there's no doubt that the planet has been visited for centuries by off-world beings. So, and there's a lot more out there than a lot of us ever even imagined.
Well, I think the planet has always had extraterrestrials on it. I believe.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, for however long it's been here, it's pretty much had galactic travelers.
Oh, yeah.
In my opinion. And I believe that seriously there are races of species, extraterrestrials, that literally live and walk amongst us.
Well, you know what, Rebecca and Joanne and Ed? Did everybody forget the story about the Dropa stones and the Dropa people, and where they found all these stones? What was it in the on the Tibetan-Chinese border, where the story goes that this ship came down, landed, it was a disabled craft, and then these extraterrestrials actually made a home amongst the Asian people there, and then they lived out their lives and died and buried and whatever, and they found all these Dropa stones everywhere. So that's just one little bit more proof of evidence that the extraterrestrials have been with us a long time. And what about all the spiral petroglyphs found all along the coastal lines from South America all the way through Central and North America up into Alaska and to Canada? And they all represent the same story of people running away from the water. Well, that to me would sound like something came and brought the water out of the sea onto the land. Could that be Nibiru? Could that be the destroyer? I just don't know, but it's extremely fascinating to me.
Are you talking about things coming out of the water?
What's that, Joanne?
Are the petroglyphs depicting things coming out of the water?
No, what they're depicting is people running inward towards dry land as the waves are washing into the dry land, and you see these pictographs of animals and people running and walking inward and upward.
Oh, wow. They're fleeing from the ocean and the waterfront.
So are we
and isn't it funny that
tsunamis?
they're located on most coastal plains?
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you ask me, the history of this planet is much, much, much longer than I think any of us really realize. I believe truly that the pyramids are well over 65 million years, and there have been many societies on this planet much more advanced than we have been, and they somehow met their demise. Of course, did not wipe out humanity simply because we're still here. But, a great cleansing does come along now and then. So, I don't know. I mean, Rebecca, your take, I mean, look, you've channeled this stuff. You're a clairvoyant. So, I know you've gotten a lot of different pictures of this.
Well, the history, as we know it, obviously has been extremely skewed. Many, many years ago, back in the early 80s, before I really understood all the messages that I was given, they kept telling me that there will come a day when things would begin to surface, and that we would find out a very minute part, but it would feel like a very large part of our history. It would become unearthed, which if you look at all of the new, there's new TV shows, there's new expeditions, people are finding all of these buildings on top of buildings on top of buildings on top of these sacred sites. They recently just discovered, I wish I could remember the name of the area in which they just discovered, a huge temple, and underneath that they knew there was another temple, and underneath that they knew there was another temple. Wow. So, when we start looking at the history of this planet, we have not even 1% of it that has been revealed to us. And if we look at history the way that it has been written, even as we teach our children today, it's so non-factual. It's so untruthful. It comes from a very skewed viewpoint of what they want people to believe in, which isn't the truth.
Well, that would definitely bring us into the next subject. Of course, you jumped the gun a little early, but boy, I got a mouthful to say about that, Rebecca.
I'm chopping it to bits.
Well, Rebecca and the rest of you, what I was going to say is that in coal, which is so old and been tested and it's like millions of years old, there's actually been tools made by mankind looking to be used by mankind, and drills and bits and forceps that could be used for medical purposes and made out of gold and different metals found embedded in coal, which had to be buried and went down several million years ago. So traces of mankind being on Earth several million years ago was left behind by his tools.
Oh, sure, Ed. What about Apunapunku, okay? Which is,
wow.
Yeah, the oldest ruins as far as the rock that stuff is made out of is called diorite. The only thing harder than diorite is diamonds. And you have these perfectly chiseled, sculpted, laser-like precision cuts in these monolithic stones that weigh from several tons to hundreds of tons. And they are perfectly cut, no trace of tools. And here's the killer. The Apunapunku people had no method of writing anything. They had no written language. Explain that. So...
Well, let's talk about the pyramids and all of their hieroglyphs. Does anybody really honestly think that there was like 10,000 people in there with their little chisels and chiseled out each and every one of those things?
It's an impossibility. Simply, you couldn't put that many bodies in one area
to
work on that.
Exactly. And I look at those all the time and I think, does nobody ever question stuff like that? Because it's just too obvious. It's like, how does that stuff get there? You would have to have tens of thousands of people, and they would all have to be doing the same identical thing because the hieroglyphs are identical from one line to the other.
You know,
I don't know about you, Robert, but I'm sure
machine.
you don't write like me, and I know I don't write like you.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's just amazing. And let's talk about the pyramids for a brief second.
Go ahead.
Really?
You going to say something?
Really, they're you know, they talk about they're being what 3,000 to 6,000 years old. I'm going, really? Are you kidding?
Yeah, sure.
They don't even know what it's for, but they really truly don't know what it's for.
Well,
go ahead.
Let me say this, that one of my guests, his name is Larry Hunter. He has figured out exactly what the pyramids are for. And again, he is another person that's been shut down by the government.
Sure.
And actually, Larry's going to be back on next month. But he knows all about it, and he actually has patents and designs on what the pyramids were built for. He says they are giant energy generators.
Yes.
He has the patent, and the government, our wonderful U.S. government, aren't they just wonderful, stole his patent. And here we go again. The government's taking over something that they want to control, so we can't have the free energy. We can't have the freedom to be human beings. And they are all a bunch of tyrannical scums. Okay, let's keep going with the pyramids because I'm going to blow my top here.
Oh, my gosh, I love it. No, I was just going to say, they have tried to, present it as some kind of a tomb. It was never a tomb. It was never, ever a tomb. It was never a tomb.
You're right. And Larry also said that there is a secret chamber in there with the body of Osiris, and he knows where the chamber is. And it's going to be amazing when he goes back there and rediscover all this stuff, because it's been a while since he's been back, and he'll bring all the information forward after he gets back. And I really can't say anything more than that.
Sure.
Because he's getting ready to go back, and this program goes out worldwide, and I don't want to jeopardize his trip in any way. But he's an incredible guy, Rebecca, and you got to talk to him. He'll just floor you. He will floor you.
Love it, love it. Absolutely love it.
And I think Ed was going to say something, or Joanne, either one of you were getting ready to say something.
It might have been Joanne.
Oh, well, okay. I was just going to say, one of the things I like to share about history is that I've learned about a few species that originated here on Earth, and one is some reptilian species, and they were around before 65 million years ago, because some of them left to colonize space, and 65 million years ago, something hit the planet, an asteroid or something, and destroyed most of their civilization. And when they came back, they thought they'd only been gone maybe hundreds or a few thousand years, and they'd been gone 65 million years. And here we had evolved, and, here we are ruining the planet. And they're survivors, and we call those raptors, and they're much like the velociraptor dinosaurs, and then their survivors basically evolved into what we call reptoids, the more human-looking reptilians that were based on Earth. But there were also some species of beings that originated in the waters. So the oceans and the freshwater lakes and stuff that have been around here for a long, long time.
Joanne, isn't there some records about them actually helping the human race to survive during some disasters in the past?
Raptors, certain of the raptors have been our allies for many years, yes, especially since the early 50s when my father-in-law met them. So, yeah, we have a favorite raptor or two that I talk about a lot. So.
Well, and that gets back to one of the things that I was talking about was when I was given those messages back in the 80s about, history not being what we think it is, and that a lot of the truth will come out. Well,
Right.
some of the areas that I explored with them was certainly the whole dinosaur era or,
good.
time frame. And what they told me back then is that some of the species, some of the bones and things that they have found, they've been, misidentified. And, they tried to put it in there that man was not, or sentient beings were not on the planet at that time. And that is not truth.
Well, Michael Tellinger talks about that, too.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And Michael and I have a lot of conversations about that. And species, galactic beings, intergalactic beings, whatever you wish to call them, have always been on this planet. Any planet that is inhabited has a sentient beings that share space with it. And sentient means the ability to think for themselves, to do for themselves, to create community, however that works. I mean, when we look at dolphins and we look at whales and we look at things like that, they created a community.
Right.
Well, Joanne, I'm sorry, Rebecca, I didn't mean to cut you off. Joanne, I wanted you to go back to the reptilians that your father had actually met. I wanted to hear a little bit more on that.
Okay, it's father-in-law.
So sorry, father-in-law.
It's okay. Well, what I was gonna say is they basically their ancestors were velociraptors, so they look very much like velociraptors. When they stand upright, they could be like 7 to 9 feet tall, but they have a very long tail, short arms, very sharp kill claws. And they basically like to stand more as a T so that they're balanced. But one of the fun things about the talk I just gave, because my husband was interacting with alien children, and 2 of them were the children of this main raptor that I talk about a lot. His name is Prince Naga. And one of the outings the children went on was to the south part of England, which was their homeland of at least their lineage of raptors, because they're the imperial family.
Hey, Joanne, honey, can you hold it right there? We're coming up on a break. Okay,
Sure.
Great. Listen, everybody, stick with us. This is an incredible show. We have Rebecca Jernigan, Joanne Richards, Ed Grimsley, and myself. And unfortunately, Bill wasn't able to join us, but I will talk to him after the show. So everybody, stick with us. This is the Whole Agenda Radio Show. I'm your host, Robert Pepino, and we'll be right back after this break.
And now for a negative positive lesson from Life Change Tea. Feeling unhealthy, negative. The desire to be healthy, positive. Sugar and soft drinks, negative. Great tasting Life Change Tea, positive. In-laws, I'll take the 5th. Your spouse will buy this. I'm going to take the 5th again. Toxins and poisons, negative. Detoxing from toxins and poisons, positive. Biting dogs, negative. Life Change Tea can protect you from biting. Hey, wait a second, who wrote this? Life Change Tea can't protect you from biting dogs, but it will flush those chemicals and toxins out of your body and help you lose weight. So order now. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Or you can call us at 928-308-0408. That's 928-308-0408. Life Change Tea may not fight biting dogs, but you're going to feel a whole lot better. That's getthetea.com.
Introducing the new Go Berkey Kit, a first-of-its-kind personal, practical, and portable water purification system for those on the go. As you know, we discontinued the mini Berkey with ceramic elements several years ago because the output of the filtered water was a meager pint per hour. The new Go Berkey system has an amazing output of about a gallon an hour. Each Go Berkey kit includes a 1-quart high-quality 304 stainless steel system, complete with a black Berkey purification element, a generic sport water bottle, and a nylon carrying case. The whole kit weighs a mere 2.4 pounds. With With an expected element life of around 3,000 gallons, you can refill the Go Berkey system up to an incredible 12,000 times before needing to replace the element. The new Go Berkey kit is perfect for backpacking, hiking, emergency packs, bug-out bags, international travel, car emergency kits, your desk at work, and much more. Get your Go Berkey kit today by calling 888-803-4438. That's 888-803-4438. Or visit us on the web at berkeywater.com. Sorry, not yet available in Iowa.
Hey, Dad.
Hey, buddy.
How come we have a bunch of emergency food stashed in a basement?
Well, it's down there because there are things going on in the world that concern me that I think could potentially interrupt our food supply. And if that happens, I don't want us to starve.
You mean we could, go to the grocery and there wouldn't be anything in there?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
A lot of ways that could happen. And if it does, a bunch of people are going to starve. And it's my job to make sure that you don't.
Thanks, Dad.
And I don't want to starve either. And that's why we got food from the freeze-dry guy. It's the best long-term storage food you can get. And if it comes to that, we'll be ready.
Dad?
Yeah?
Some people say you're kind of a crackpot, but you make a lot of sense.
Well, thanks, I think.
Get your supply of the best long-term storage food available. Call 866-404-3663 or go to freezedryguide.com.
You're listening to The Micro Effect.
Colorado Channel. This is a Class 1 emergency. All civilian traffic is barred from streets and highways. Stay in your homes. Stay in your homes. Those found without specific military orders are subject to summary execution. Stay in your homes. Repeat, Colorado Channel. This is a Class 1 emergency. All civilian traffic is barred from streets and highways.
The Micro Effect.
Please destroy this recording by the usual method.
Welcome back, everyone listening to this show. I welcome you, and this is the Whole Agenda Radio Show. I'm your host, Robert Pino, and we are doing an incredible roundtable with Rebecca Jernigan at Grimsley and Joe Ann Richards. And this has been a fascinating conversation. If you're just joining us, we've been talking about Nibiru. We've been talking about the alien agenda on this planet, the reality is that we've been lied to about how long humanity's actually been on this planet. And I would say, from my personal opinion, well over 65 million years, if not longer. And Joanne, you were getting ready to talk about, you were talking about the reptilians that your father-in-law had encountered. And I was actually going to bring something up before the break. Now, when Phil Schneider came out publicly when he was digging these underground bases, these dumbs, and actually had a firefight with some of these reptoid aliens, and some people had lost their lives. Did your father-in-law know anything about that, or had he had any involvement in that?
His encounter at the Dulce?
Yes.
I'm not sure what my father-in-law knew, and I will just say that my husband was involved with a different, probably around the same time period. He was involved with a rescue mission at Dulce with several military people, and I know there were reptoids at Dulce, and probably at times there have also been raptors, but our raptor friend actually helped the military with the particular rescue mission. Reptoids are different than raptors, and the two are enemies. And then they're also totally different from the space-originated species of reptilians.
Wow.
So wow. personally know anything about Phil Schneider's stuff except what I've heard from everybody else telling me, but I know a lot about the ones my husband does talk about.
Ed, what about you?
Well, Phil Schneider was doing the underground boring and drilling, and then he talked about the going across the United States and all around, and then he kind of spilled the beans about some of the stuff that was going on, finding, I believe it was Greys down under earth and had a firefight with some Greys. But I could be mistaken. I could be mistaken. So, and I think Phil lost 62 men and was wounded himself. And I guess they went in and cleaned up that action after and then rerouted the tunnels. And then he was murdered later. Sort of a stabbing, a shooting, and a hanging. One of the worst suicides they'd ever performed.
Yeah, well, I mean, the man had they said he left a note, and how was it possible for him to hang himself the way he did? It was an impossibility, from what the coroner's report showed. It was just an impossibility for that to happen. So you know that he was murdered, unfortunately. And the thing is, they can try and keep shutting us up for as long as they want, but I think it's all coming to a head right now. Like Rebecca said earlier, you could see it coming to fruition. The change is now coming so quickly, and it's coming so in our face that these, these so-called puppet masters who are supposedly, well, not supposedly, they are controlling our whole economic structure is coming to an end. You can see this whole thing falling apart around us. I mean, look what's happened in the United States, the job loss, the jobs that won't be coming back, the denial going on with the bankers. And this is just the low minion level stuff with, Bank of America and Chase, JP Morgan Chase. This is just all level stuff. And now you're seeing in droves all these kids, and not just kids, but all walks of life coming out and saying, we've had it. We've had enough of this system, and it needs to change. And this is where I wanted to bring the second hour of the show, is the economic destruction that we are actually going through. And this touches every facet that we're actually talking about because of the cover-ups that have taken across the board, okay, from the alien agenda and the crafts all the way to the money masters who know very well who these beings are and have kept it a secret from us, and all the technology, okay, whether it be man-made or extraterrestrial, all the technology that they have kept from us to keep us slaves to this oil energy system and this nuclear energy system, which is an atrocity to humanity. And like Rebecca has said before, we're still driving around 120-year-old technology just with a new paint job on it every 5 years or so. And anybody, please jump in.
And the thing being that they have far better technology than they ever had, and they've been keeping it all a secret so they can be in control of it and be in control of us, the people. And they're using us, the people's money, and our country to rule us and run us and take us over.
But the thing is that it's fictitious money. It's money out of thin air. It's not real money. It has no real value. There's no intrinsic value. The only thing that has the intrinsic value, which we've used, the people of this planet, which has been gold, silver, platinum, diamonds, but they usurped that, and they put the nail in the coffin in 71 with Nixon. And this is where we've been heading ever since. I mean, think about it. We got the Federal Fake Express Reserve, prints money out of thin air. Who put these people in charge? A few greedy congressmen who thought that they would live out their life in riches, whether they did or not, it doesn't matter. But they allowed an oligarchy of illuminists, elitists, to control our very lives through a fictitious paper system, which has now destroyed everybody. This is all of us. Because, I have my own business. I've lost 65% of it. Okay, and that's what's remaining. It's still declining.
Well, I've been involved in several businesses and been successful in some things and not quite in others. And I'll tell you, no matter what anybody says, the government is a businessman's enemy. They make rules and regulations for you to follow, and then you must do what they want. Keep books on your money, keep books on the records, and how much you're to pay them. So they make you their bookkeeper, and they fine you penalties if you do it wrong or not too timely.
Hey, Ed, you want to hold it for a second right there? Listen, everybody, we have a caller on the line. You guys feel like taking a call?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. Caller, you're on the line. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello. My name is Alma. I'm one of the directors for a UFO organization here in San Diego.
Hi, Alma. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. I
think I know you.
Hi, how are you, Ed?
Pretty good.
Great. I've been listening since you all started your wonderful subject matter that I'm sure is of interest for everybody right now listening. And I just wanted to call to let you know what's going on. As you know a little bit about me, Ed, and I'm talking to everyone there in the panel. As a child, I was in Mexico. I had many visitations as a child, as an adult. And what's been going on right now, I want to be very brief. Mr. William Rowling and I were on the phone last night, late, discussing subject matters relating to experiences. And he was outside talking to me on the phone, and we both experienced a tremendous, loud, electromagnetic surge of energy. Went through his phone and went through my line. It was so loud, it hurt our ears, our head. We had to pull our phones away from our ears. And I told him immediately what it was. And it was a visitation. For him, the energy was captured, and I captured it on my line on the cell phone. And what's happening now, you can't get through to him, no matter what you're doing right now. There's some kind of a blockage.
Well, we have been trying to call him, Alma. I mean, for the last hour we've been trying to call him. We just can't get through.
I was told that. And I was told to call him up to tell him that. And he's been waiting and waiting to be able to answer you and to be on the program. And unfortunately,
Alma,
energy is
I have called
him.
I have called him and tried to give the right number out, and I can get through to him and talk with him, but it seems that the station can't.
I know, and it rings and it just shuts off.
Exactly, Alma. I called him on break on my cell phone, and I got through him very easily. But when the station tries to call him in, they can't get through.
No. It's not going to go through because it's right now. We went through something last night, and that's basically a benevolent visitation. But for some reason now, he cannot be on your program. It's just a block of some kind of energy blocking the line. So I did inform him. He also emailed me letting me know everything. But I was on the line telepathically telling him what's going on. So we're all in tune right now with what's going on. And it doesn't surprise me. So bear with us.
There's bad energy trying to keep things from going and advancing.
This is serious. What we did experience last night was a beautiful benevolent force letting us know their presence is here. But there's others that perhaps want to hold this back from the public. And I'm sure the public is intelligent enough and ready enough right now to know and to be aware that there are benevolent forces as well as there's malevolent forces in the heavens, in the cosmos, and on Earth. And we have to be intelligent enough to understand the difference and to really call on to the benevolent forces so Mr. William can get through. So it's a matter of thought and a process that you can put through to him to break the lines open. And if they're very powerful, perhaps you'll have them on in another show where we can work on these energies beforehand.
Oh, well, we're going to get him back.
Okay.
Yes, we will.
All right. So that's my 2 cents. And just to leave you something, please. You did discuss why the planet Nibiru is making a lot of headlines, and throughout the world there has to be some kind of connection where all these different indigenous cultures, such as the Hopis, the Mayans, the Hindus, Incas, Aztecs, the Tibetans, Egyptians, they all have something to say about it. And it's not negative. It's basically the Hopi are saying it's the beginning. It's the ending of the fourth world, the beginning of the fifth, of enlightenment, of purification.
Well, that's what I'm waiting for, Alma.
You know,
It's
the end
the
of
new
days.
beginning.
Yeah. The Hindus call it an enlightenment, the ones that are going to come, enlightened ones. The Aztecs say it's the time of the sixth sun of transformation, creation of new race. The Tibetans say it's the golden age to come. And all of them speak of something benevolent. But there are certain things that have to come first, a purification process, before we enter into this cycle. So that's what I wanted to see, so that you can continue on this conversation. Okay?
Okay,
Well,
thank you for
Alma.
calling.
Thanks for calling in.
All right. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak and for letting you know that I was in tune with what was happening over there on his side. Okay?
Anytime you want to call in, please, you're more than welcome to.
All right. Thank you. Have a great show.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good
Bye,
night.
Ed.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Yeah,
You know, she
Joanne.
brought up a good point, Ed. It's not only, you know, it's a physical destruction and an economic destruction in order to bring in the cleansing, you know?
Well, you know, a lot of times if there's a lot of debris along a riverbank that's been building for years and years, a large flood comes and the river runs over the banks and flows out and washes everything clean again. Only problem is that it ends up somewhere, and that's in the ocean. So when one cleansing takes place, then it still has to go somewhere. And as long as we're on Earth, will Earth handle it? Will Earth suffice? And the thing about the Earth, it appears to have its own ways of keeping itself clean as long as man doesn't do it too badly.
You're right. It's a self-cleansing system. Unfortunately, we haven't figured, well, I mean, we figured it out. I'd say everybody else who's still a sheeple and still a sleeple haven't figured it out. Rebecca?
Yes.
What's your take, honey?
Well, let's talk a little bit about the whole money system.
Yeah.
The money system is a process that's been put into place that is like an exchange. You go to work, and this is what you get when you go to work. You get this money. And if you really get into following the money backwards, and you go back into old legislature back in the early 1900s, and when all the legislature changed, the Constitution, all of that stuff was changed. It's actually illegal. As we know, income tax is illegal. It's illegal for any United States resident to be paying income tax.
Correct.
The reason why we're paying income tax is because they had enforcers that would enforce this new rule and regulation, even though it was illegal, as it's been written. And, you know, that kind of became, you know, the strong arm of the government, when in fact it's not even the government, it's a private industry. The IRS has nothing to do with the United States government at all. Nothing whatsoever to do with it. I had a gentleman on my show a few years ago, and his name was Thomas Freed, and he was an attorney. And his big thing was the whole IRS income tax thing. And I'm going to tell you, I was extremely enlightened by this legislature. But then when we take that past that point, when the paper money was created, it was based on how much gold reserves that we had. And obviously we have no gold reserves anymore because a couple of people decided that they were just going to add a bunch of zeros to whatever was in the bank. And this is how digidollars came to be, right?
Fractional reserve banking, you got it.
Yep. So digidollars, became the way. So what happened to all the gold? And I think Joanne talked a little bit, and then Ed too, both of you did, talking about cargo going in and out of off this planet. Well, when we look back through history, we look back through how precious gold is. And obviously, when you look at Michael Tellinger's work, you look at Sitchin's work, you look at all these people that have done research, gold always seems to be the prevalent theme to any of these dynasties kind of that has been in place, the historical references and the gold mines and, gold rush. If you remember all the gold rush in the West and all of that. I mean, all of that is specific. I mean, if we can do the work for those that are taking the exchange, which means the humans here on Earth are exchanging it with different species for whatever reason they need the gold for. And we're doing all the work for them. We're mining it. Sure, we get digidollars. If we go out and we find some gold, we'll take it, and somebody gives us digidollars, and we can go and, pay our electric bill or buy new clothes or whatever it is we're going to do with the money, right? But we don't keep that gold here. It's most of it has gone off planet, and there's been some other people and I'm not very good with remembering names here, but there's been some people that's done a lot of research on that. So when we look at what's happening into the financial world now, people can't wrap their mind around how would I exchange. I go to work for ABC company. And we make gadgets and widgets, and they pay me, X amount of dollars. I take the X amount of dollars, and I pay my rent, and I buy groceries, and I do these things. I put gas in my car. People can't imagine in their mind what would happen if they did not have to go through that process. People think that if money didn't exist, that they would have no need to go to work. What would they do all day? They would have no need to get an education. What would be the use? Because they have no industry to apply it to or a field of interest to apply it to. When in fact, if you start taking the money out of the equation and you start understanding that, well, gee, if I didn't have to work for a living to keep a roof over my head and to keep food in my mouth, if I could exchange my knowledge, my skills, my capabilities for people who love to raise chickens or grow vegetables, or if I could just go and get a crystal and put it in my house and everything is, lit up and, I can still have luxuries. People think that without money that we go back into the dark ages because there's a lack of understanding of what money really is. And it is a form of slavery to each and every one of us. And if we could start educating the people on where did this all start, how come it started, and really educate them on the truth of this whole process, people wouldn't want to use money anymore. They would be inventive because we are intelligent. We truly are intelligent. If given the opportunity, all these secrets that have been kept from humanity all these millions of years because they say it's for our benefit, when in fact, if we would have known the truth, if this had been open societies throughout all of time, if there wasn't all this secret and if there wasn't this hierarchy that was going on, this world would be a very different place.
You're 100% right.
Be a very different place.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. And I just wanted to add that, less than 1% of the population owns gold and silver, any of the precious metals. So that tells you how people have enslaved themselves through the illusionary thought process of the money masters who created it. They fell into the trap, but now it's time to awaken from that trap. Ed, Joanne, what are your thoughts on all this?
Oh, my goodness. I was going to say, one of the things, again, that my husband has educated me about is, and this is not, a lot of people understand this now, but, part of the New World Order's agenda is to squash the middle class. And we obviously see that happening nowadays. But I was also going to say, going on what Rebecca said, like I live in Northern California, and one of the nearby communities, there's several people involved. They almost have like an organization to trade services. It's totally based on bartering and stuff, and I'm sure that's not a new concept, and I'm sure many communities around the country or the world have that. But it's interesting to see because a lot of people live, very simply or are able to do a lot of things without spending any money, which is rather nice. And I know my daughter has a lot of friends where she lives up in Washington, and they do barter quite a bit of things. But, so there are ways to get around the money thing.
But now it's against the law to grow your own garden and trade food or any of that, so...
Well, she only grows food
you guys saw the Whole
family,
Foods company being raided for the raw milk they were selling, right?
Yeah.
I know they're doing so many ridiculous things that we cannot believe that that's our government, because it's not.
Well, Ed, I reframe that. I take that back. It's not my government. I didn't put these people in charge. They put themselves in charge.
Have you ever thought about how many aliens are in charge and that they're trying to run the humans in the ground?
Well, it's interesting because in several of the reports my husband has written up, I mean, even back in the 60s, it was interesting to see who were the early New World Order type people. And then the other talk I gave had to do with an incident that was happening in 1978, and he really gets into the different people, different humans who are involved with New World Order, and he goes into great detail about, so-and-so. He doesn't necessarily like name which alien species, for example, but in some cases he does. So it's like so-and-so, they're making deals with, this New World Order group, and they're making deals with, certain alien groups, and this was going on, and nobody was all working together necessarily, but a lot of them were, working behind each other's back, and it's like, oh my gosh, and that was 1978, but it's been going on, and it's only getting worse, and they don't really care what's going to happen to, their own grandchildren, let alone my grandchildren. So.
I know that it's not our Senate, it's not our...
Ed, why don't you hold on to that thought for 1 second, because we're coming up on a break here. But what I wanted to bring up is maybe talk about all the money, the fictitious digital dollars that they have printed up to use to create this breakaway civilization, which I think one of the big things that you have been talking about for such a long time, Ed, is the activity over our heads. And I believe that they've used this fictitious money that they used us as slaves, as Rebecca said, as the
not
slave
only
system.
Are they using our money, but they're using the
slave
secret
system.
technology.
Let me finish. Using this fictitious slave system of money debt system in order to create this breakaway civilization. And actually Richard Dolan has talked about this quite a bit. But everybody stick with us. This is the Whole Agenda Radio Show. I'm your host, Robert Pino, and you're listening to the Roundtable. We have Rebecca Jernigan, Joanne Richards, Ed Grimsley, and myself, and we will be right back after this break. Stick with us.
And now for a negative positive lesson from Life Change Tea. Feeling unhealthy, negative. The desire to be healthy, positive. Sugar and soft drinks, negative. Great tasting Life Change Tea, positive. In-laws, I'll take the fifth. Your spouse will buy this. I'm going to take the fifth again. Toxins and poisons, negative. Detoxing from toxins and poisons, positive. Biting dogs, negative. Life Change Tea can protect you from biting. Hey, wait a second. Who wrote this? Life Change Tea can't protect you from biting dogs, but it will flush those chemicals and toxins out of your body and help you lose weight. So order now. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Or you can call us at 928-308-0408. That's 928-308-0408. Life Change Tea may not fight biting dogs, but you're going to feel a whole lot better. That's getthetea.com.
Introducing the new Go Berkey Kit, a first-of-its-kind, personal, practical, and portable water purification system for those on the go. As you know, we discontinued the mini Berkey with ceramic elements several years ago because the output of the filtered water was a meager pint per hour. The new Go Berkey system has an amazing output of about a gallon an hour. Each Go Berkey kit includes a 1-quart high-quality 304 stainless steel system, complete with a black Berkey purification element, a generic sport water bottle, and a nylon carrying case. The whole kit weighs a mere 2.4 pounds. With an expected element life of around 3,000 gallons, you can refill the Go Berkey system up to an incredible 12,000 times before needing to replace the element. The new Go Berkey kit is perfect for backpacking, hiking, emergency packs, bug-out bags, international travel, car emergency kits, your desk at work, and much more. Get your Go Berkey kit today by calling 888-803-4438. That's 888-803-4438. Or visit us on the web at berkeywater.com. Sorry, not yet available in Iowa.
Hey, Dad.
Hey, buddy.
How come we have a bunch of emergency food stashed in a basement?
Well, it's down there because there are things going on in the world that concern me that I think could potentially interrupt our food supply. And if that happens, I don't want us to starve.
You mean we could, go to the grocery and there wouldn't be anything in there?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
A lot of ways that could happen. And if it does, there are a bunch of people who are going to starve. And it's my job to make sure that you don't.
Thanks, Dad.
And I don't want to starve either. And that's why we got food from the freeze-dry guy. It's the best long-term storage food you can get. And if it comes to that, we'll be ready.
Dad?
Yeah?
Some people say you're kind of a crackpot, but you make a lot of sense.
Well, thanks, I think.
Get your supply of the best long-term storage food available. Call 866-404-3663 or go to freezedryguide.com.
You're listening to The Micro Effect.
Conrad Channel. This is a Class 1 emergency. All civilian traffic is barred from streets and highways. Stay in your homes. Stay in your homes. Those found without specific military orders are subject to summary execution. Stay in your homes. Repeat, Conrad Channel. This is a Class 1 emergency. All civilian traffic is barred from streets and highways.
The Micro Effect.
Please destroy this recording by the usual method.
This is the Whole Agenda Radio Show, and I'm your host, Robert Pino. And if you're just joining us, you are listening to the first ever round table. And Ed and I will actually be doing this starting mid-November every Friday evening. And this evening, joining the round table with Ed and I, we have Rebecca Jernigan and Joe Ann Richards. And Ed was we were just actually talking about the financial situation and the ET situation, how both sides of both parties have really controlled it all through the manipulation structure that they've put in place. And we're really starting to see big changes now worldwide. And I think this isn't going to stop. I think this is going to keep pushing forward until we actually break free and become free from this tyrannical system of slavery. And for anyone who wants to join this conversation, the number is 1-888-747-1968. You're welcome to call in with a question or just a thought. And Ed, please continue with what you were going to say before we came on to the break.
Well, I believe that even though Eisenhower did some treaties and there was the military complex, Hitler worked with aliens and got technology from them, and I think we had work from aliens that got technology, and our side won the war, and I think that Germany lost the war, but the Nazi Party won, and they're still going. And they're sharing technology with one another that they don't share with us, and our tax dollars and our money is building it and using it, and they're controlling it to manipulate us. So I believe that there are alien influences that are upon our leaders that are manipulating us and getting us ready to be screened out, filtered out, whatever you want to call it, partial extermination, and possibility of more aliens coming in to fill our shoes and maybe even hybriding us.
Well, I believe that we are the hybrids of the extraterrestrials, our space brothers and sisters. We are their product.
Yes, in some way, but then I think that there's others that are trying to manipulate us to where they can control us. And I think control and over-control and greed has been something that's always going to be the enemy of free mankind and intelligence. They have the great need to control us. Maybe we are dangerous to something out there, or maybe we used to be more than we are now, and maybe there was great wars in the heavens, and maybe man got pushed into a couple of corners and said, now stay there. Who knows?
Well, that's a good point, Ed. And, you know, you always hear people saying, or the government officials saying, we're a greater danger to ourselves than any other extraterrestrial. I would say that's a complete lie. We, the people, are not more dangerous to ourselves. It's the governments that are a danger to humanity on this planet. Rebecca, Joanne, any thoughts on that?
Well, the thing that I would say about that is that, you know, if we had all, and it gets back to that, all that stuff of keeping secrets. If we hadn't been lied to all these years, millennia, I mean, from its inception, from our inception here on this planet Earth, then they wouldn't be able to make that statement. By the very nature of how they treated the regular population of this earth, by keeping us as these wage slaves, and it's just happened ever since the beginning of time. I mean, if you want to look at the whole genetic experiment thing, and we being hybrids of that genetic experiment, we were bred and you know, cloned, or whatever you want to call it. We were brought here on this planet. Many of us arrived here on this planet. We may not remember that. But all of it has been just a lie perpetrated, to where the truth is so convoluted at this point, and it is so in disarray, that unless you are really, really solid inside of yourself and really feel what the truth is, you're just never going to understand anything that goes on. But if we are not a danger to ourselves, what we are is not having the information that many of the higher-ups have.
Very good. Joanne?
Well, I agree with that because I go back to, for example, the talk I just gave about this 1961 conference, and so many of the aliens basically thought of us, not even, almost like not a viable species. We're just humans, and we're not worth. We're just not worthy, and they thought of us more like children. And basically, what do they do with us? But when the conference was over, it's like my husband was writing that. It's like, it was like all the big government people that were involved with this conference, they all just basically had to agree that it never happened, even though it happens every 10 years. And, business as usual, and they just went back in, and basically it was kept secret, and nobody publicly knew it happened. And they were so afraid of the children, the two human children that were there, my husband being one, they threatened to either kill them or do like a memory wash because of what they were afraid they might say. It's like, so they're so afraid of us knowing the truth, they were willing to kill two children because of what they might say down the line.
Well, the truth is that our soul and our spirits may be more powerful than theirs, and if we knew the truth, they could not control us.
But I think we are learning the truth, Ed. I think this is what's happening.
Yeah. I think that we're getting closer to the truth than they want us, and through internet, through the radio shows, through the truth-seeking and the open eyes, and the fact that I'm probably one of their big enemies because I opened it up to the world that you can see spacecraft with night vision goggles, and it is truth. And no matter how many lies they put out and say that I'm all full of bull and that I'm a nut and all this, you get night vision goggles and you can see it for yourself. So there goes their lies. I'm here for the truth.
Okay, excellent. And I think we all are. And look, we got just enough time, and I want to ask everybody this question, and we got everybody take about 5 minutes per question here. And my question is, okay, it's October 19th today. We can see how everything is unfolding right now. And I'll start with Rebecca, and then we'll just work our way, Joanne, and then Ed. So what do you think we will see from today all the way into next year, let's say December 21st, 2012? And that's just a date. I'm just using it because it's the end of the year, okay? We know there's physical change happening on the planet, and we can see the human change taking place on the planet. Rebecca, what do you think's going to unfold within this 18 months?
Well, now, are you asking what Earth changes are going to be happening?
I'm saying overall, everything. What do you think?
Well, first of all is that we have seen an influx over the past, year and a half or so of a lot of small little revolutions, quiet little revolutions going on around the world. Little pockets of people coming forward and revolting against whatever. We had the old Tea Party. Now we've got the Wall Street sit-in, and they've done this now internationally. We're going to continue to see that on the rise. These movements are going to continue to get bigger, in my opinion. Also, you are going to see, in my opinion, and many of you may have personally already experienced that through 2011 up to now, is what I call, or what the Elohim have called, the separating of the wheat from the chaff, where people that you might think of as friends or family may just all of a sudden just become something unknowable to you. They become very different. Their behavior becomes very erratic. It is the influx of not only the energies of the planet moving into the different positions into the galactic center, but it's also every ship that we see out there, every planet that we see out there, all the things that we don't see out there. that energy also is coming in and out of this planet. And all of these, like Alma, I think was her name, the caller, talking about the EMF that hit her when she was talking to, I can't remember his first name, Larry?
Bill.
And how that affected what's going on. This is not, the rules of engagement here are not going to be the same. They aren't the same. We have to quit thinking third-dimensionally. We have to quit using just the resources in our box of going, well, yesterday this was the rule that fit this situation, because those rules are changing. And we have to be able to really kind of flow with these changes. And we have to learn to honor that understanding of just because I can't see it doesn't mean it isn't happening. And we're going to see a lot of people becoming more and more aware of that. You're also going to see people going to the way extreme, and they're going to stand fast in the old paradigm, the way things were, because these are the people that are here to be the challengers. They're very comfortable with the digidollars. They're very comfortable with the wage slave thing because they don't have to think. They just simply do. There's no right or wrong with the choices that people make, but there are going to be a lot of choices. I do think that we're going to see an influx of a lot of different type of behavior like that, and it's going to become very newsworthy, which is another thing I might caution people on is your traditional news programs. Journalism is kind of a dead art in a sense for most of the traditional news stations. They basically just read off, these teleprompters or their notes. People hand them stories. These stories are not necessarily truth. So please learn a lot of discernment. I would leave that with people as well. So I think we're going to see a lot of changes. And because it happens on a daily basis, we're not going to notice it as much because it's kind of like this continuing story. But I do think we're going to see an awful lot of what I just expressed to everyone that's going to be happening over 2012. And please be careful of the madness of the whole 2012, the ending of the Mayan calendar, or the year, or whatever they're calling it. It's a date. That's all it is. It's a date. Those dates are not written in stone. We change everything just by our thoughts. And we don't want to give a lot of credence and energy that the world is, quote-unquote, going to end on that date in December 21st, 2012. Because I have to agree with Joanna. She was talking about that this is really the age of enlightenment. One of the things I want to leave you with very, very quickly is that Walter Cruttenden from ARE, I interviewed him many years ago. There was a DVD that was put out called The Great Year. It was narrated by James Earl Jones. This will talk about the Age of Enlightenment. It also talks about the whole process of Nibiru. It is a very, very good DVD to get if you can find you a copy of it. Again, it's called The Great Year. So those are kind of some of the things that I see as coming up. We're going to see a lot of uncovered truths coming forward. Some of that's going to be watered down, so watch your sources. And just watch the people around you, family, people that you would consider friends. You just never know what's going to affect them in an adverse or a positive way.
Wow, that was excellent. Joanne, what do you say? What do you think is going to happen here from now to 2012?
Well, I always say that we don't make any predictions because the timelines could change. I do follow my husband's admonition that we should be prepared for just natural disasters that might be coming down the pike. And, I live in California, so, I believe in earthquakes.
Right.
But I don't know specifically what's going to happen. But am I physically prepared? Yes. And I have also been learning more and more about personal empowerment and just making myself more mentally and emotionally strong and aware so that I can cope with whatever challenges are thrown my way. So, I tell people don't live in a state of fear. And that's what I say.
I think that don't live in a state of fear, but also look on the bright side and think about it, because the power of the human mind is not known yet, and maybe we need to think our way into the better situation.
Right.
Well, I think that's. I think everybody's got a good point. Personally speaking, I've been studying the physical Earth changes for quite a while, and I've been seeing everything that's taking place. And there's this whole nonsense about the planet physically flipping on its axis is a complete bunch of nonsense. But I'll tell you what I do think is happening is that Earth, is going through a frequency shift. Meaning that all the energetic particles that are bombarding our solar system right now, this is factual, all the planets have heated up. Now, yes, the sun is going through let's call it a super cycle, because it is a cycle within a cycle. Because it's actually a solar maximum, so it's going through a super cycle, which none of us have actually experienced this, and scientists are now saying we're flabbergasted about what is taking place, and the ancients all knew about this. So what I think is happening, because you've seen all the sinkholes and you've seen all the fracturing taking place on the equatorial bulge of our planet, 30 degrees north and south of 0 latitude, the Earth is actually getting ready to go through an expansion. And I've talked about this with Dr. Brooks Agnew on quite an extensive basis. And as the Earth gets ready to expand, the actual planetary volume of rock and dirt and water has to go somewhere. And I think this is what we're seeing, And I think also this is why we see these things, and we see it written in stone that these things take place where land meets water. So this is why you have these pictographs, and this is why the Hopis talk about the red star, blue star, Kachina, and the great cleansing. But it's both a spiritual cleansing and a physical cleansing of the planet. And I think that's my take, and I think this is exactly what is happening at this point. And, here's the thing. Everybody's saying, well, as soon as our extraterrestrial brothers and sisters come down and they will help us, they're going to help us. You know what? They're not going to help us do anything. I'll tell you one thing. No civilization got anywhere without helping itself. We have to help ourselves. The children have to put away the matches, quit playing with the matches, quit burning everything in ourselves, put them away, and start to grow up and become adults. And this is where we are right now. And I think we're starting to come into adulthood, and the Earth, its frequency change and shift that is going through, we are feeling it. We are going we are going through that with her at this moment in time. And I think this is what happened. So it's a culmination of everything. It's no coincidence that the monetary system is exploding. It's no coincidence that the sun cycle is going through. It's no coincidence that we're going through the galactic plane. And it's no coincidence that the humans on this planet are finally awakening. And it's called the Great Awakening. Anybody?
Yep.
Here.
Well, Mother Earth is constantly growing and changing, and it's a living planet. And as it gets older and we get older, I think that we both need to grow together. And if we're causing it a problem, she may just want to get rid of us. Dog scratches flea. But I think that we're more than a flea. I think that we're here to help Earth and the creatures, and it's time that we start doing it.
Well, I agree. Any final words or thoughts from anybody? Got a couple minutes left.
Joanne.
Jump in. Go ahead. Jump in.
Joanne.
Yes, Ed. I look forward to the day when we can actually work together publicly with other non-human species. You know, my husband proved that it could happen in 1961 with other children of other species. And if we really put our mind to it, and behind the scenes, non-humans are working with us. So why can't we do it openly?
Okay, you're right. Now, everybody, real quick, we got about 3 minutes left. Everybody, give out your info. Rebecca, your info about your show and when your next show is going to be coming up.
Okay, well, they can find information on my radio show by going to journeyswithrebecca.com. And my next scheduled show is October 30th from 1 to 3 p.m. Central Time. Also, they can go to RebeccaJernigan.com. There's a list of classes and events that I have scheduled. Well, they're not scheduled, but there's a list of classes and events, and I will be scheduling those very, very soon. So those are two ways that they can get a hold of me and get some information. And, Robert, I've just enjoyed myself so much. Thank you so much. It's one of those conversations could have went on for hours. Thank you.
Well, you're absolutely right. And and by the way, Rebecca, I'm going to get to actually have her for a full 2 hours coming up I think it's next month, Rebecca?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I'm going to get you for a full 2 hours. I can't wait for that. And I always love talking to you. And I'll catch up with you hopefully next week sometime. I know you're busy and I'm busy, and we all have so much going on. Joanne, please give out your information so everybody knows where to find you.
Sure. My nonprofit is called Earth Defense Headquarters. The website is EDHCA for Earth Defense Headquarters California.org. So I have several items on there, and I have a couple of speaking engagements coming up later this year that I'll post on there when I have the dates and times and all that. But there's several of my radio interviews that are actually on YouTube. If you just Google, put my name in search when you get to YouTube, so people can hear more about the topics I share. And thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Excellent.
And I am going to be at the Alchemy 11-11-11 conference in Los Angeles area. Look it up on the web and get tickets and do it. And I think Joanne's going to be one of the speakers.
When is
Kevin
that?
Smith is, I am, and Bill and I are going to show some videos of spacecraft flying. The real deal, and it's not Holyfield.
Okay. So, everybody, this has been the Whole Agenda Radio Show. I am your host, Robert Pepino, and to my panel, Rebecca, Joanne, and Ed, who will be always my guest hosts on this show for the Roundtable on Friday nights. I want to thank all of you so much for being here, and I really, really want to do this again. Hopefully we can do it together again sometime down the line, because, we'll always try and get different speakers to come in and guests as wonderful as yourselves. But I want to thank you all so much.
Thank you, Robert, and thank you all of you. It was wonderful being here with you.
You too.
Thank you both for letting Robert and I keep you going and having a good show.
Okay. And everybody, take care. This has been the Whole Agenda Radio Show. Tune in tomorrow night, and you're going to hear a wonderful, wonderful show. Take care. Have a wonderful evening.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Negative positive lesson from Life Change Tea. Feeling unhealthy, negative. The desire to be healthy, positive. Sugar and soft drinks, negative. Great tasting Life Change Tea, positive. In-laws, I'll take the fifth. Your spouse will buy this. I'm going to take the fifth again. Toxins and poisons, negative. Detoxing from toxins and poisons, positive. Biting dogs, negative. Life Change Tea can protect you from biting. Hey, wait a second, who wrote this? Life Change Tea can't protect you from biting dogs, but it will flush those chemicals and toxins out of your body and help you lose weight. So order now. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Or you can call us at 928-308-0408. That's 928-308-0408. Life Change Tea may not fight biting dogs, but you're going to feel a whole lot better. That's getthetea.com. grimsley.com.
Introducing the new Go Berkey Kit, a first-of-its-kind personal, practical, and portable water purification system for those on the